Well, since we're entering the year where everything's supposed to come to an end, according to a bunch of wackos who have no knowledge of Mayan culture, we might as well kick off the year by talking about finales. All things must come to an end, including TV series. Sometimes a show doesn't get a send-off because the network just up and cut it, but when it does, it can either end in a way that leaves the viewers with a satisfied conclusion or royally pissed off and thinking the producers just screwed them over since they don't have to worry about their ratings anymore. So for the next 2 weeks, I'll be giving you my picks for the best and worst of these endings. Naturally, spoilers will be plentiful in this review, and since I like to save the worst for last, let's get started with my picks for the 5 best TV series finales. Number 5, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. Yeah, surprised I put this one on the list? Well, despite the problems I had with this show, the ending was really good. It was the climax of a 4-parter where Tom's brother has been taken prisoner in Afghanistan, and both Tom and the Studio 60 crew are left in the dark as to whether or not he'll get rescued. As they deal with their frustrations over the military silence and the media blitz around them, Tom has to decide whether to use his money and fame to get him out first. Meanwhile, Jordan goes into labor and suffers complications that first endanger the baby and then her, leaving Danny to wonder if he can even get custody if she doesn't make it, since he's not the father. The last part would make or break my opinion of the arc, and they could have had everything go to hell and end badly because it was the show's end, but they didn't. Not only did Jordan and the baby survive, but Tom's brother was rescued, and perhaps making a subtle message that the easy way out isn't always right. And it really showed the humanity of a lot of characters, particularly Jack, who's revealed to just be a browbeaten executive forced to make bigwigs happy while truly siding with the cast and crew. Aaron Sorkin admitted that he spent too much time forcing his social commentary on this show. I like to think that this ending was his way of making up for it, and for that, I salute him. Number 4, Arrested Development. Even as I re-watched this finale for the review, not remembering half of what went on in the show previously, it was still a hoot to watch. George had just been set free, and it looked like the Bluth family and company survived, but of course everyone is still as greedy and manipulative as possible, trying to cash out their stock, while Michael discovers that Lucille has actually been the one pulling the strings and making all the criminal moves of the company, which we should have seen from the beginning. I can't help but compare this show to Veronica Mars because they were both supposedly aimed at an intelligent audience. But while Veronica fought the criminals and unfair world around her by stooping to their level and beating them, Arrested's protagonist kept trying to balance being the better man while helping his family, until he realizes they're completely unsalvageable and finally does the same thing and leaves them to rot in hell. Not only did a number of small details from the series come together in the final resolution, but the writers threw in a bunch of middle fingers to the network that never really supported their show. And of course, Fox handled the criticism like professionals, by airing the finale and the 3 episodes preceding it all in one block opposite the Winter Olympic opening ceremonies. Class act, Rupert! Number 3, MASH. I got a feeling some will get after me for not putting this one even higher, and it's understandable. How do you end a show so endearing that it lasted 8 years longer than the war it took place in? Obviously, this finale had to coincide with the Korean War's conclusion, but the writers knew they couldn't just end with a typical half-hour segment. The result was a 2.5-hour-long episode that showcased how the war affected the 4077 crew individually, from Klinger's love of Soon Lee to Hawkeye's nervous breakdown. And it also showed how war doesn't just end when a treaty is signed, as hostilities officially continued for 12 more hours, and the surgeons still had their jobs to do after that. In the final segment, the creators knew it wasn't just about the characters saying goodbye to one another, it was the actors and producers really saying goodbye to the viewers, and they managed to combine both at the very end through a simple one-word message as Hawkeye's chopper takes off. This remains the highest-rated non-sports TV program in history, and for a show some consider the best ever, it couldn't have bowed out any better. Number 2, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. After the disaster of the 6th season, the 7th was hit and miss. It had its good spots and some bad ones, but the ending was possibly the best way to do it. After a year of Buffy and her potentials thinking they were doomed to fight a losing battle, she finally comes up with a way to even the odds.
I say my power should be our power. Every one of us. Make your choice. Are you ready to be strong?
The result was an army of slayers against an army of super vampires, which is one of the most awesome things ever! I also loved how they toyed with everyone's assumption that Buffy would die again in the finale, but it didn't happen. The Hellmouth is finally destroyed, taking all of Sunnydale with it, and Buffy comes to realize that she is no longer the one and only Slayer in the world, making her ultimate dream come true. What I loved about this was how it ended the series without really ending the story, leaving it open for fans to continue it in their own imaginations and fan fiction. And of course, the story eventually did continue in the Dark Horse comics, one of the best ways to conclude a fantasy drama series while still keeping it going. But my pick for the number 1 series finale, what else could it be? Newhart! Yeah, like this was a hard decision to make. This has gone down as one of the most memorable and enjoyable ways to end a TV series. A group of Japanese businessmen get everyone to sell them the town to tear it down for the world's biggest golf course. Everyone except Dick and Joanna's in. Then everyone returns after years of living high on the hog to decide they want to live forever at the inn. Driving Dick to near madness, he gets hit with a golf ball and wakes up as Dr. Robert Hartley from the Bob Newhart Show, who has been dreaming the whole thing from beginning to end.
Nothing made sense in this place. I mean, the maid was an heiress. Her husband talked in alliteration. The handyman kept missing the point of things. And then there were these 3 woodsmen, but only one of them talked.
That settles it. No more Japanese food before you go to bed.
Now, you might wonder why I'd have this top the list when I put the Dallas dream sequence on my list of worst storylines. But see, Dallas was a drama series where viewers were expected to follow and embrace the full story while seeing how it develops the characters. And it irked so many fans to just wipe out a full year of stories from existence and then expect them to trust the writers for the rest of the show. A similar case happened with the Saint Elsewhere ending. Newhart was a comedy, and a crazy one at that, and it just made sense to reveal at the end that this bizarro land town was all some guy's subconscious. And the fact that Newhart's original character was a psychiatrist just made it even better. Yeah, the last laugh may have been on us, but it was in a way that we could laugh along to the end. So, that's my picks for the best series finales. But don't you worry for those of you wanting to see me rant, because next week, the worst is yet to come.